Hi, Mara.
Hey, Gary, how are you?
Just a second. I have a new laptop and I'm trying to get this thing working.
No worries.
All right. No, you're outside. You're a brave woman.
It's a photo of my backyard, but it's a photo.
Oh, I see.
You hear me now?
Yeah, Gary, we can hear you.
All right. I said I just got a new laptop and just installed Zoom on it, so kind of quirky.
You did it right.
All right.
It's better than I can do. You can't cough, Mara.
Anybody get their shots?
Nope.
Not yet.
We both got number 2, so.
Good for you.
My daughter's a nurse at Mobap. She got hers. She's young though, so she just got hers.
They do the old nurses first, then the younger nurses later.
Basically everyone in the hospital based on age, all the way down.
I didn't expect it. I got a surprise email that I work with spinal cord patients as a volunteer out of Mercy. So they said the volunteers were considered healthcare workers. So I lucked out. And then my wife works at Barnes, so.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how quick you get yours. I hope you get it quick. It's just that it seems to be taking a little bit longer than we expected.
Yeah.
Good morning.
I guess.
Morning, Joe.
We got everybody. Look at it all.
Filling it up. Everybody's excited about talking about the budget.
It's all I could think about all night.
It's a pain in the butt when we meet in person, much less on Zoom.
Actually, I think it might possibly be easier.
Oh, good. Maybe, is it already done? Thank you.
Laura, how's your husband? Last time we were together, I think he was having some problems.
Right.
He continued for months to have issues, but he is finally, I think, good.
Good.
But thank you for asking. So Ron, it looks like you've got enough for your quorum. In addition, you have your visitor. So I can move him over you want to start up the meeting and approve minutes, and then I'll move him over.
Sure, sounds good.
Is Margaret with us? I don't see her. I see an M, but I don't see her.
She's just not sharing her picture. You don't have to share your picture if you don't want to.
Okay.
Yeah, she's here, and so is Mark.
Okay. Approval of the November minutes.
Sure.
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay, sounds great. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There we go. Okay. Mark, move Larry over.
Actually, I'm gonna move him over to be a panelist so you can see him.
There, my video's on now. Sorry, I couldn't find my little button. Good morning.
Morning. So Ron, Larry had asked to be on as a visitor to talk with you all about SG Collaborative.
Okay.
And so I will let you guys take it away.
All right, Larry?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, first, thanks for letting me join your meeting this morning. My name's Larry Chapman. If you haven't met me, I'm the CEO of Seneca Commercial Real Estate, and that's the S in the SG Collaborative. The G is Green Street Partners. Phil Hulse is the CEO of that company, and we joined forces to respond to the city's request for proposals at the end of 2019 for a 2020 submission. We were selected. There were only 2 proposals that came in, and we've been on a path for the last year of a lot of public outreach to see what we think would fit in the community, both from the standpoint of feedback we got from groups like yours and other individuals, but then also we've done a lot of work on what could work and what we think feasibly could fit on the property. And so what we've come up with is, really what amounts to a land development that would be populated with future buildings, some of which we would build, maybe all, but not likely, and some of which others would build. And the idea here is to create a platform for redevelopment that would do a number of things. 1, would enhance the community. 2, would bring more people to the community, and that has a number of impacts. 1, on the business community. I think we can bring a lot more customers. That would be good for everybody who's got a local business. And then it would also create an energy of attracting more people to Webster. So we bring people not only that live in Webster in, but outside Webster in. And so that's really what our focus has been. We don't want to detract from local business. We want to support it. We think we can generate more business. And our hope is, if we do this right, that when you have other redevelopments occur in town, they'll be more robust and more helpful to the overall economy here. The other thing we were trying to do is create people spaces, walkable spaces. And so we focused on the public infrastructure as much as anything. And we created what we're calling a new Main Street, a large gathering area, things like that. The idea being is to enhance walkability and the pedestrian experience, and then make a connections where North Webster, Old Webster, and all of Webster can gather and come together. And that's really part of what we're looking at too. And the other thing is bringing a little bit of urbanism to the suburban landscape. Suburbia all over the country is in this evolution where people are looking to have different experiences, but stay in the communities in which they grew up. So people don't want to have necessarily a big green donut, as they're sometimes called, a house with a yard around the outside with all the obligations that go along with it, but they want to be in their community and live in an environment that's either rental or ownership. And we expect to have both apartments and condominiums. We also expect to hopefully bring some office in, which would be terrific for a lot of reasons. I don't know if you know, but Webster, for example, participates in the sales tax pool. And so the way it gets its share of the county collected sales tax is by population. The more people you have, the more share you get. And so that will help the community. The 15 acres we're working on represents about 0.5% of the land area in Webster, but I think we can bring an economic impact that's closer to 10%. And so proportionately, we would be really good for the Webster Grows economy. And then in the long run, if we can supply a good amount of the revenues, then maybe they don't have to tax real estate or other things as much. And we bring a little bit more balance. You never know. The other thing we heard is that, the community would like to find a way for people who are who live in Webster but don't necessarily have the highest income, or they're on a fixed income, to have the ability to stay. And part of our proposal is to use the economic development tools available in Missouri to subsidize a workforce housing component And the way we defined that was, someone who is a new school teacher going to the Webster Groves School District earns about $42,000 a year. So that was sort of our affordability line. And we're not going to do it with low income tax credits or those kinds of things. We're just going to buy the cost of rental down for about 10% of the units, so that someone that works at Olive and Oak, for example, could live here and walk to work. Someone that's a school teacher could do the same. Someone that's one of your businesses could afford to live, or someone who's on a fixed income later in life can afford to live. It will not be the dominant component of this because new construction costs a lot of money, as you can well imagine, but it will be an important component to bridging that. And those people will live in an identical facility to those paying full market rent. So we're not going to say, okay, affordable units over in this corner, everybody else over here. It'll be ubiquitous. They'll all be together and forming a more uniform population of people. What's happened though is that we've created this platform. And if you think about Webster's history, once upon a time, hundreds of years ago now, somebody had the vision to put in roads and infrastructure and then homes and houses built up. What we want to do is create a main street where each and every building has its own unique architecture and each and every building has an opportunity to stand on its own, which is really what happened in the history of Webster. We don't want it to be a monolithic thing. I mean, we could put up 2 of the apartment complexes like you're seeing all over St. Louis County and get to the same place, but it would just be these 2 monolithic apartments that wouldn't have any ability to contribute to the community other than with people. And so that's important for us to accomplish that goal. We're at a point though where we need the support of the city council, and we're going to go back in front of them on the 28th. They've engaged a company called Development Strategies to help them understand the economics of all this so they can feel comfortable that we're not running away with the farm, that what we're doing makes economic sense, and we applaud that. And with that in their hand, we'd like to get the city's support. But reason I'm here today is I'd like to get the local business community's support, in particular the one we're next to, and would like to answer questions and see what you all think about the idea of this redevelopment area, and then hopefully get some vocal voices in City Hall that are a positive rather than the handful of negatives that seem to be dominating the show right now. So that's why I'm here, honestly. I'll share with you my phone numbers and emails if you want to call me after the fact or anytime. I'm happy to do that. But for right now, I'm here and hopefully getting you all to engage in a little conversation with me so we can do a better job of delivering to the city of Webster Groves. So that's what I have for this morning. Anybody got any questions or thoughts?
So Larry, I guess the only thing that I
question. Oh, go ahead, Ron.
So I guess I'm of course all for any development. I think the area that has been chosen to be developed, and I think that your presentation from what I've seen so far has been great. The only thing I've heard from the local community is that the presentation of the design was not up to scale of what the actual plan was. And that has turned a lot of people off. And so I think that that's the one huge thing that I continue to hear from people is going to be an issue. What are your feelings on that?
Well, the answer is right now we're building an infrastructure platform for buildings. If I designed every building today, I'm not sure I could deliver those designs, because if you think about it, we've got at least 8 buildings going to go up, maybe more. We may divide it up into smaller buildings. And each one of those is going to be financed separately and have different ownership structures and different things that push it forward. So I don't even know who all the owners of those are going to be, other than I'm going to bring them to the table and they'll each design what they want to design for them. And then we'll go through a process with the city of getting the design approved. But what you're asking me is to design 1 million square feet of 8 or 9 buildings, which will cost, I don't know, $1 million or $2 million. And then I would have to change it, and people would say, hey, you promised you were doing this and now you're doing that. We have to deliver to the market, and the market is going to tell us what it wants as we go. What I can tell you is that if we can get permission to go forward with the concept, then we can put in the infrastructure and everybody will get a chance to look at the buildings that are going to go up. There's no carte blanche ability to do whatever you want to do. And if I could tell you exactly what they were all going to be, I would. But the minute I do that, now I'm going to share a model with City Council on Thursday, and it'll be available for the public to view to give you some ideas. It'll give you some examples of what the kind of streetscape we're looking for. So example, if you can imagine a 100, 200-year-old street in an urban area like Paris or New York or other things, we've got very interesting little buildings, one after another. That's the feel we're trying to create. It's the pedestrian experience we're trying to create, and we're hopeful that will be helpful. But if you built a subdivision and you didn't want to build tract homes, how would you tell them the design of what every home the people are going to build in it are going to build? It's really impossible to do, other than to create rules, which we're willing to do.
Question. I'm a business owner, but I'm not a Webster resident. Where exactly is this going to be?
It's the entire 15-acre area between Gore and Rock Hill and between the railroad tracks and Kirkham.
Okay.
And so it's mainly older industrial kind of buildings. There's a little condominium on the end that's turned back into apartments. Old Community Baptist Church is there, which will remain, but it's basically older buildings that, probably don't comply with anything Webster has anyway right now.
Morning, Larry. I have a question.
Hi, Mark.
How are you? So, is it crazy for us to expect there to be parking as part of this development that would not only
So I'm going to answer your question.
For what you're building, but also for current?
Yeah, it's not crazy. Let me tell you what we're going to do. I'm just going to leap all over you because I can tell you what the plan is. So the main street, which will be named someday, but the main street will have angled back-end parking on it like you see in urban areas today. And there'll be about 110 of those spaces available to the public at any time, no constraints, no rules. We're also going to take Pacific Avenue, and instead of that being a public street, it's per se, it's going to be a one-way from Rock Hill over to Gore as we envision it. And then on one side of that, we'll have more of that parking, another 30 or 40 spaces that will literally be just across the tracks, walking distance from the restaurants, all publicly available to park in. And then of course the parking garages. But one of the things we've learned is people don't like parking in parking garages unless it's where they live, And so we've got a huge amount of surface parking that's going to be available. I say overall about 140 spaces that, first come, first serve.
Anything dedicated for employee parking in that development area and potentially for the existing business district?
Well, I don't know what exactly you mean by that. When we have businesses in our development, we'll designate where the employees park and in a way that's not going to compete with the customers. And so it'll be in an area probably in the garages that we can designate. If you're looking for something to help Old Webster, happy to talk about it and consider it. We have room to do some things along Pacific Road. And Pacific looks like it's down in a hole right now. When we're done, it won't be down in a hole. It'll be up darn near level with the tracks.
I think that's something where we already have a shortage. And as we continue to grow and we still have empty storefronts in Webster, and ideally this would help fill storefronts. And as pretty much everybody on this call knows, about any time any new business is coming to the neighborhood, that's the talk of the town and city council and Mara's desk and phone. And, so a constant issue that I'd love to see, once this development's complete, there's not really further room to develop in Old Webster. So would love to have that addressed so we can nip that conversation in the bud for the future.
We're happy to sit down around a table and work with you one-on-one to do that. We believe we're gonna help solve that problem. That's one of our objectives and our goals. It's one of the things we have on our list of things to accomplish. People take spaces away and I put them back, and so I'm very aware of the situation. I live a block and a half from Old Webster, and so I get it. And we want to help that situation. We also are planning to do a walk bridge over the top of the tracks so that you don't necessarily have to fight the train tracks themselves and from where these parking spaces would be. And then, you know, we will have plenty of parking in the garages if people want to have areas where they want to send a valet or something, easy to do things like that. And my hope is if we can do a development on this scale, that when future redevelopment occurs in Old Webster, that it will be more robust and contain amenities like that because we can afford it. The idea here is to lift up the values to where new redevelopment can occur, you know, up and down the street. I mean, there's plenty of older buildings here that could be redeveloped like you did with the Auto Beauty one, Mark. I mean, that's what I hope we can also accomplish.
Agreed.
Have you had conversations with Union Pacific about that potential bridge yet?
Yeah, the Union Pacific, I've done many things with Union Pacific. I built 2 overpasses and 3 underpasses in my life. And Union Pacific's really, really simple. Send me your plans and we'll approve them. So, and they have very specific requirements. You know, I have to go across there right away. And they're very cut and dry, methodical people. So it won't be a problem as long as we follow their rules and we pay all the bills.
How are you going to work with that substation that's on Pacific?
We're going to have to leave it. We've looked at moving it. We're going to probably reroute some of the lines that come to it and go out, but we're going to leave it and buffer it. The problem we have is there's no place to put it that's any better than the one that we have. And it serves an area of Old Webster and this. We've looked like crazy to do that, but we'll leave it and you won't see it that much, but there's really not much we can do about it.
Sir, I've heard some rumblings from other business owners in the district about infrastructure and traffic on Rock Hill and Gore and Kirkham. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we've done a traffic study, and no surprise that at certain times of the day, the traffic's a mess. There's about an hour in the morning and about an hour in the evening that's a mess. What we are going to do in our design of our parking is we're going to connect the garages in a way that they can all, if they want to, exit directly onto Kirkham across from St. John Avenue. And in doing that, we'll keep people off of Gore and off of Rock Hill. Will people be on Gore and Rock Hill? The answer is yes. But will our traffic materially impact what's going on today? No. I mean, the greatest thing we could do would be to get rid of the trains, and that's a big problem. We looked at a way to go under the railroad tracks at Rock Hill. It's feasible. It's about a $25 million project, so it's not probably going to get paid for with something as small as my project, but it is feasible. But it's also not a complete solution because all we've done then is push the problem to Manchester Road and further to the north, where different people control the traffic, namely the state, the county, and those municipalities. And the state and the county aren't going to change anything for us. But you'll see the traffic study. It's exactly what you would expect it to be. We were a little worried about the numbers because of the pandemic, but we were able to find 2 previous traffic studies and extrapolate forward, and we're getting the answers that you would expect to get.
Any other
So,
questions?
go ahead, Ron, sorry.
I was going to ask if there's any other questions from anybody.
I do have a question. My big concern about the project, where I'm really excited about the project, actually start with that. But how is this going to be any different than the development across from the Galleria, the development in St. Charles, all of these huge developments that seem like they got a lot of attention their first 4 years and now are vacant?
So we've done a pretty extensive market study, and we're planning about 750 units of one kind or another. Our study says in Webster Groves, which is an entirely different place in either of those environments, would absorb those units. We could do them once a year, every year for 10 years and fill them up. And part of the reason for that is the demographics, you know. People didn't grow up across from the Galleria and want to find a way to stay here. Go look at the vacancies in Kirkwood. Everything that's going up in Kirkwood gets filled up almost as fast as they can build it. And that's because there's a history to Kirkwood, just like there's a history to Webster. And there's a huge population of people that would like to find a way to stay or come here that haven't been able to find a way. I mean, there's really no choices. If you want to live in an apartment, to live in Webster, a nice high-end amenity apartment, that doesn't exist here. It just doesn't. So, you know, we believe that the market studies we've done have told us the right answer, and we believe we won't have that problem. But we're also not going to build it all at once. You know, and we're going to build the stuff that meets the market. So we'll come out of the ground first with a condominium of some kind, which we are going to try and design now, and an apartment of some kind, and then we'll see how it goes. But the key to apartments working now, and you won't find this in the ones you're talking about, is the way the amenities work. You know, people have a desire to live in a collaborative, fun space with nice amenities that, you know, allow them to spend more of their time out of their unit than in their unit. And both the places you described are basically restaurants and rooms and a store. They're not amenity-driven space. Go down to the Chroma apartment, even though we wouldn't do something exactly like that here at the end of the Grove. You know, that's the kind of amenities people are looking for. Anyway, it would be nice to think I can design every aspect of a $300 million development all day one before we have any approvals and spend millions of dollars, but you know, it's not feasible. We are going to set this up so that we can achieve the goals that we've established, and then give each of the all of the community and through the city the opportunity for additional bites at the apple if they have concerns about what's going on. I personally believe everyone's going to be delighted. If you have time, get on the internet and look up Bridge Park in Dublin, Ohio. It's pretty close to what we're doing here. And it is the crown jewel of Dublin. And at one point it was considered something that made people nervous. And it's a classic example of the urban environment coming to suburbia, which we're going to see everywhere in America. And I personally believe if we don't do something like this, in the long run, it's going to be hard for Webster Groves to compete because it's what people are demanding in terms of lifestyle. And you have to have enough of the lifestyle for people, or you get monochrome existence, and it just isn't. Will Webster always be here? Yeah, I'm not suggesting that at all. But if you want to have a really robust economy in Webster, you need the diversity of housing opportunities, or it just won't happen.
So tomorrow on Thursday, I guess we can all tune in to the city council meeting. Is that correct?
You won't on this one. This one's a closed session because there's a bunch of contractual, but we'll have something soon. But after that meeting and after we share with city council, we're going to make available to the public the model and a video that we're doing that describes our vision of the project a little better with everybody on our team involved. And so that'll be available on our website shortly thereafter. And I'll make sure I reach out to this group. There will be once the city has a chance to absorb the development strategies information, then they'll put this on an agenda sometime, I would hope, in the near future. That's my hope anyway.
And Ron, we were trying to set up a meeting with Larry and his team with the Old Webster Trade Association and extending that invite to other business owners, et cetera, in the neighborhood to attend.
Okay.
So I'll keep everybody in the loop on that.
We'd love to do that, and love to have our whole team on the call or Zoom or however you're going to do it. So weird these days. We can't just all get in a big room. I hope that changes sometime soon. Make my life a lot nicer. Not used to doing business this way. Neither are any of you, obviously.
I have one.
Everybody- Yes, ma'am.
So sorry. You had mentioned that you were going to name the street Main Street. Is that
No, no.
Okay.
It's not
Okay.
going to be called Main Street. There will be a name for it. We haven't named it yet. It won't be called Main Street is my point. We're just using that as a placeholder for this streetscape. I mean, if you look at that street as an example, so, you know, it's a two-way street with narrow drive lanes, angle parking on the back so we can maximize the parking. But what we've done is we've made the sidewalks much wider off the buildings. And then we have these big areas every a half a block that you could literally put a restaurant in. And so it's really focused on the outside living environment up and down the street. And so if Mark's restaurant were there as an example, he could do, you know, I don't know what you call a little area with the little pergola out there. You could do 4 or 5 of those in just any one of the areas next to the restaurant pretty easily. You know, we believe the outdoor experience is a big, big deal. You know, I'm watching it happen in Webster. You can see it, you know, partly forced, but I think partly people like it. And, you know, when I did 9 Mile Garden, it's a perfect example of that. People want an outdoor experience and are liking it. And so we're going to focus heavily on the outdoor pedestrian experience, and it'll be cool. It'll be a great place to have Jazz Fest, you know, plenty of room, plenty of parking. We'll have this big terrace seating that goes up from one, because we got to remember we're dealing with 50 feet of fall, right? 60 on one end, 50 on the other. And so when you take an area down near the sculpture park and go into our development with a gathering area that becomes a natural stage with terraces going up, it's pretty cool. It will be lots of fun.
Okay, any other questions for Larry?
All righty, y'all. Well, thank you. If I will send, I'm not sure how to do this, but I'll get everybody my contact information. Would really encourage you to call me if you have questions. And if you have the inclination at all to whisper in your council person's ear, I sure love you to do it.
Okay.
Thank
Larry,
you very much.
I'll send the contact information out to all of them.
Oh, thanks, Mara. Perfect. All righty. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, old business. Nothing. Okay. New business, budget.
So we have budget first, and then we have something from Bill. I don't know if you want to go to the more
Let's do
fun.
Bill first.
Bill first, and then Bill, I do have, if you want me to share it, what you sent to Fran.
Yes, please. Yes,
Okay.
please.
Hold on just a second.
Here's, well,
Oh, there you go.
perfect. Okay, so I was in St. Simon's Island, Georgia over the holidays, and a little restaurant or a little store similar to like Story 7 or some of the other stores that we have in Webster Groves just had this. We're tourists. We went to probably 5 or 6 of those recommendations. So I've already talked to Story 7. They're very interested. They follow this store on Instagram, so they knew exactly what I was talking about already. Doesn't have to be Story 7. It could be Olive and Oak. It could be whoever. But you can tell it takes a little bit of design. The paper was, I think it's 5x8, you know, good quality stock. So possibly something Olive and Oak does, maybe Story 7, some other store. I don't care who it is, but I wanted to throw it out there. I think with maybe a little bit of funding, so maybe a 50-50 split, or I'm just trying to get the discussion going. I saw it. My wife thought it was the best idea she's ever seen. I did share it with the Story 7 ladies because I know them, and they said, we follow them on Instagram. We like this idea a lot.
So basically all it is just a little handout just saying what's cool in their city, right?
Yeah, so in the shopping bag that went in there, or they were sitting next to the counter, and of course, it looks neat. So you pick it up, you start reading it, and you're like, it's a little bit more of a touristy area, but the downtown reminds me a lot of Webster Groves. So if you're in with some friends and you're at Olive and Oak and you're getting your final check maybe, and this is on with the credit card receipt, that you're signing, maybe you then go over and maybe hit Llewellyn's or something, or maybe you go over to Leopard or some other place that you see on here that just kind of catches your eye. Simple marketing. So it's not something that I'm going to be doing because I don't have that many people coming to my business. But if somebody wanted to run with that, I do know that Story 7 has interest. But I think this is, you're going to be putting other businesses out there. So there might be some marketing budget that we could put towards that. And if somebody else wanted to do it, then run with it and then come back to us.
It also looks like something that could be incorporated into the map or anything else we already do or talk about doing, and just kind of looking at a different format for doing so, where not only do you show the map and physical locations, but you also kind of have the grouping. So look for a particular bars or boutiques or suites or whatever, they have it broken down like that. So it could be a district thing where everybody could have the same thing available in the same format versus just an individual business offering it. Not that doesn't work as well, but.
Right, I agree with Mark a little bit. I think we help fund it more, our organization helped fund it more, and it included businesses in it. I don't know how much this would cost, I guess you could, I know for my business, I have a lot of repeat customers, you don't put one in the bag every time. Maybe you ask the customer, would you like a local map of all of our businesses and what they have to offer possibly. But it's very cute, very attractive. Definitely the artwork is much more appealing than what we currently, I think, have. So I like it.
I think it was actually the trade association last week talking about this. So I think trade association's in the process of publishing something along these lines. And I know it came up with the board again by the entrance to the parking lot and stuff like that, which Stacy vowed to get complete this year.
Sounds good. I just wanted to throw it out there. And I think the most important thing is the quality. You can tell that they took some time on this. And so that if if it's just not thrown together, but if it's done with high quality, the paper I remember was very high quality. The size was not small. It was probably 5x8. And I think it's something that people will, if it's at the register, just maybe grab it. And we maybe not just a map, because a map just is a map. But you do something where you're like, this is breakfast. Okay, we need to go out for breakfast tomorrow. We're in from out of town, or we're visiting from Chesterfield, and we'd like to go to breakfast somewhere different. Well, then you have these little categories. So I think it's a little bit different than a map, and you can always Google the place. You don't need a map. You just know the area. The area is Old Webster.
So this is each individual business creating their own favorite.
I think what the taxing is saying, what Mark is saying, is that we would not have it if somebody wanted to run with their own personalized one, like this store is called Two Friends, but you could do one just for the taxing district. But it's not the same. It's not a personal recommendation. Like the Two Friends people it seems to be like, hey, we recommend, and this is a nice store. So wow, it's a nice store you walk into. So you have a feeling that maybe they've actually been here. Maybe they've actually enjoyed it. I don't know. But we went to many of the locations listed for breakfast, and they were all great. So it just gave us a little bit of, like a Google review, is a Yelp review that this place is recommending these places. So hopefully they'll be good, because the store was very nice.
Any other questions for Bill or comments?
Thanks, Bill, for bringing that back with you.
Okay. Well, I'll let you guys with the taxing or the trade work with that. But I do think, yeah, if you did something, personally, I would not do a map. But I think if you said, hey, Old Webster, and then had, dinner locations, breakfast locations, retail, I can did it in like, pizza, break it down into more specific areas, pizza places, restaurants for breakfast, restaurants for great place to go for cocktails, great outdoor dining.
Okay.
Okay. Of course, you got to put in their insurance agencies too.
Ta-da.
Uh-oh.
Nice.
Ready for the fun? So just as a reminder, it's that time of year where I remind you that we need to start talking about budget. So this is where I usually, the January meeting is where I usually say to you, what would you like me to research or get numbers on for you? Or what would you like to look at as a potential for next year? I will send this PDF to all of you after the meeting is over. But just as a reminder, we usually have over here all of the categories of what you had for this past year's budget. So as a reminder, your budget year runs from July 1 to June 30th. This is the budget year from 2021, and that runs from 2020 July 1 through June 30th of 2021. Here's expenses to date and what your balance is to date. And then I usually put the previous year's budgets so that you can see what you had spent in the various categories, as well as what you had actually spent that year. In addition, I always make sure to put on this far end. Where did I, oh, it went off the screen. Let me get you one other thing. I'm going to share the actual spreadsheet because it looks like it cut off some important information. I wanted to also make sure you saw what you had received money-wise. Let me share the Excel. So if you look in here, this is the past year's revenue. In the past years, you'd started out back in 2005 with about $50,000 coming in. That has increased exponentially year after year after year. And then I know for the last couple of years, we'd had an unusual additional deposit based on banks. And guess what? It happened again. So we had another big deposit from a financial institution. So your revenue for 2020 was over $103,000. So that was a pretty huge jump from the 2019 and 2018 years where you were at 93, which we thought those were pretty big because of some of the financial institution deposits. If I remember correctly, I think the financial institution deposit for 2020 was something like $17,000. I'll get that exact number for you later. But so I always try to give you that reminder that is the revenue that you have coming in, which usually gives you a little bit more to spend in a year if you want to do that while keeping your fund balance around the same. So you can see the beginning balance. You have about $107,000 in your fund balance of money that you have either not spent each year, and then it goes into the fund balance. We've used that for some additional projects when you were anticipating you might spend more than was actually coming in each year. And then so far your revenue to date is only about $30,000, but it is early. It's still January, and usually I update that as we get closer. We haven't gotten our biggest deposits from St. Louis County for taxes, and business licenses aren't due until April 30th. So that number, we usually had always been projecting about $70,000. We never anticipate those big financial numbers. So we always kind of make a lower estimate of what we're going to get in. But the last few years, it's been so much higher that we're going to probably need to make that estimate a little bit higher. As a reminder from past years, from 2021, we have a few key things that we usually put into the advertising category. In the past, we've done $4,500 towards the BDC holiday package. This year, that included the TV commercial, radio station, as well as ads in the Webster Kirkwood Times. We also usually do social media, and both the BDC holiday package and the social media, they get matched with Old Webster, Old Orchard, Crossroads, and the city, all putting funds in together and using that bundled together to kind of get the package that we pull together. You also usually do about $3,300 in Webster Kirkwood Times advertising. That includes a couple ads in the fall that are a match with the business owners, as well as ads in the spring. And then it includes the holiday gift guide in the during the winter season. We usually do $5,000 towards open house. Just as a reminder, this year we actually did probably quite a bit more, knowing that we were limited and not doing some of the other things we normally do. You did things towards trade association for both the winter market as well as the October fest. That wasn't a fest. We still had the money in for street dance, or we had it in the previous budget. We had money in for the Jazz Festival stage. So again, knowing that some of those events weren't happening, that's why we moved forward with some of the things towards trade association. We usually have another number in there for other advertising in case there's anything else. I did not end up getting the directional sign repaired as of yet. There were just too many other things going on. It's still sitting in my office, but I do need to get that taken care of. As you probably all saw, we did get both the bows and the garland and use that out of our funds from this year. And then we didn't do anything in regards to tree lights, but we had that potentially in the budget when we were discussing the budget last year. So this is just the time for you to tell me things that you want me to get additional information on or do research on, whether it's something from the Parks Department for additional numbers, whether we want to add, just as a reminder, some of the things we did this year were 2 extra banners for your 2 events so that you could continue to do winter market as a possibility, as well as the Oktoberfest again. They can be reused in future years. But I'm just sort of going to leave it out there of what would you like me to get? We would need to focus our February meeting for the discussion on what you want to put into your budget so that I can finalize that, because I have to put all my numbers in March in order for it to move forward for a work session in May with the council, for public hearings in June, so that it can be approved prior to June 30th.
So I guess, Mara, one of the things, I mean, I know we have like some outstanding money for building lighting and stuff like that. Is that on operational equipment?
That is on operational equipment.
Okay.
And so what I need to do, I need to give you a tally of where we are. The only one that we did so far this last season was Rolling Ridge. I do have on my list the new Olive and Oak building. And I'm still working with the bank regions. The banks always take a lot longer to work with because they go through the whole things of having to go up to corporate and get things approved. So I know I have at least one more that we can do. We need the temps to go up a little bit more before we can get them scheduled. But we should be able to get them scheduled for this spring, still under this old past budget.
So Olive and Oak is a go whenever the weather gets better.
That's correct.
Nice.
Okay, Mara, what about Maury's buildings?
Maury was holding off a little bit longer till he finished all the construction. I can check back in with him again. It's funny, when I called him about the candle lights, he was confused and thought I was talking about the lights at the top of the building. So I will check back in with him. He was holding off until he finished a few more things with his interior construction and his upgrades to the buildings.
At some point, we're gonna need to start putting money in for replacement and repair of these strands. I mean, 'cause
Yes.
it's not gonna last forever. I mean, so I think that's something we need to start thinking about annually to be putting into the budget.
I would also agree with that. And I think we do need to, so the old strands didn't have the same kind of water protection. And we probably need to completely replace, I know on the CJ Muggs building, they've tried to go in and just, scrape out where there's some water damage, where bulbs are out because water's gotten in. And we probably need to completely replace that strand. And knowing how much you have right now in terms of just overall additional budget, we could probably go back in and get back to some of those other ones and replace the strand out in the previous location.
And repair stuff, Mara, and this may be a little off topic. There's a trash can down kind of between Garden Cafe and the apartments by Glen. I don't know if it's like fully damaged and needs replaced, but may need repair. It seems like there's something wrong with it. I don't recall off the top of my head, but I know it always seems to be a mess and doesn't seem to work properly.
Okay, I'll put a work order in for that one.
Thank you.
And then I'll get some numbers on what it would be to replace so that we could think about those for the next year budget. I'll talk with Stribe.
Yeah, I think we need to have at least one or two trash cans in that budget as well. I think, at some point one or two of them is gonna either be, hit by a car, hopefully not, but something seems to happen once a year to a trash can.
So
That one in front of Yo My Goodness still has not been replaced.
Right, because we didn't necessarily have the money in there to replace. They're really expensive, but knowing what you have this year, I could go ahead and see if we could get the replacement done. But I hadn't yet done that because we didn't really have. We usually put an additional 1,500 in our operational equipment in case like a park bench gets hit. They get hit and damaged more often than trash cans. But with the trash can, it's more like, if I remember correctly, like a $2,500 to $3,000 replacement. They're enormous. So we usually try to do them at the same time, like see if we can order 2 or 3 at the same time, because the cost for shipping is also very expensive. So why don't I get some numbers for that? And then while I get the numbers, there could still be a chance that you guys could say, go ahead and replace that now out of this year's budget versus wait till July 1.
We're talking about just the sidewalk trash cans, right?
The sidewalk trash cans.
Which is the one in front of you. Oh my goodness, that lid keeps flying off. It's busted.
Yeah, that one that was just mentioned down the road from us is a mess.
Okay. Well, let me put a work order in for both of those and then figure out that if we end up needing to get a new one down off of by Garden Cafe, if we end up needing to get a new one for that and we can replace You, Oh My Goodness, then it would be 2. It would lower a little bit our costs for the shipping. And then I can also check, I was working with Old Orchard also about their various locations, because I think they want to reorient where some of their trash cans are based on how walking traffic has changed in businesses. So it might be worth having an overall map to see where all of your locations are and see what else we might need. So I'll get some costs for trash cans and have them check on both of those to see if both of those need to be, I mean, I know that the, oh my goodness, one we've already talked about needed to be replaced, but we didn't necessarily have it in the budget because of how much more it costs than replacing a bench. Okay, so I have stride replacement costs for putting in new strands, and I have trash cans. Anything else you guys want to get some numbers on before next month?
I am going to start on that sign, not start, I'm going to dive into it. Do you have any suggestions or recommendations on which architects I can reach out to that the city normally uses?
So I don't know if you necessarily need an architect for that. And the city doesn't use anyone. So let me check on who people use for it. I mean, it would be someone more like a graphic designer for wayfinding, because normally they know how to do the construction tied to the design. Usually they call them wayfinder signs.
We used Adler signs for that wayfinder. I'm positive we did.
Adler, if I remember correctly, is no longer in biz. I need to look. One of the one who did our wayfinding signs is definitely no longer in business. So I had to go with someone else for our smaller ones.
Mark, I would guess that Larry would probably have one. If you're going to send out Larry's email, Stacy could reach out.
Yeah, he might know of someone
Perfect.
for wayfinding. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Amara, as long as you're having Yvonne get the prices for trash cans, why don't you ask her about a bench cost too? Just
Okay, so it's not Yvonne, it's Public Works.
well, Public Works. Okay, I do believe that they both come from the same supplier.
Okay.
I think we've used Wehrmeyer Creative too on the 2 hours. I know we've used Wehrmeyer for the design and the creation of those 2-hour signs that you see on the poles. And that's local business.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they would have, you know, I want it to be cohesive. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
Well, Wehrmeyer is right there, is next to CJ Muggs.
And they'd be able to do the design. They wouldn't be the one to construct it.
Okay, and
So-
then I'm assuming, Mara, really quick, just so I can kind of understand, I'm gonna have to take this to the architectural review board, correct?
No, doesn't need to go to the
Oh.
architecture review board.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Nope. All right, I think I have numbers that you need. I will send you guys a PDF of the budget so that in case something else comes up, you can say, oh, I still need more information on whatever. And I'll send that in the same email that I send you Larry's contact info.
That's great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, city update.
So few things. We have permits in and a business license in for DD Mao, which is a Vietnamese restaurant that's going in where Forenza Pizza used to be. We have in permits and a business license for Union Bagel, which is going to be starting construction very soon. They've been doing demo only where Porter Paints used to be at Almond Big Bend. We have construction documents in, and we're still trying to get some additional information for a new Wingstop down in Yorkshire Plaza. We have the Subaru dealership has multiple additional lots besides their main lot. ARB has already reviewed a new total access urgent care going in on the corner at Laclede Station and Big Bend where the used car lot used to be. They're also purchasing the property immediately to the west of that for the urgent care and their parking lot. I would expect I'm getting construction documents in the next week or two on that one.
So they were, last time you said they only granted one variance and that's all taken care of now?
Yep, they were only granted one variance and they've designed it to work with just the one variance. And they're working with St. Louis County right now in regards to the roadways and right-of-way dedication and MSD for stormwater. So I'm expecting a site plan and construction documents quite soon as they've continued to work with them on all of that. For those that I know are waiting patiently for Le Macaron, they have had their drywall nailing inspection as well as some of their rough inspections for, I think, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. They are focusing just on the first floor space and not including the lower level space at this time. But I would guess that they should have some final inspections coming up soon. And so we'd have them opening up also. I think I'd mentioned, or some people might have heard, we thought we were having a conditional use permit hearing on Monday for the space north of the Subaru dealership. We were working with Lona's Little Eats on that location. They need to hold off a little bit longer while they continue to work out some details. So they have asked us to postpone at least till the March meeting or perhaps beyond. But for now, we're holding off until March. So for those that were excited to come to our public hearing, we're holding off on that one. On Monday night, we do have 2 code amendments that we're working on. We're working on the single family residential amendments, as well as the 2-family residential amendments. Both of those are on for Monday night. And it's a continuation from the hearings we had both in December and in January. And we're going to continue to work on those. If anyone has any questions or thoughts or concerns or anything, I know a number of you do live here, not just work here. We are working on things to hopefully decrease the number of older homes being completely demolished that could be saved, and looking at if there is one that really needs to come down, trying to ensure that the new construction that's replacing it is not taking up, being too large to looming over neighboring properties or causing any water issues to neighboring properties due to too much impervious surfaces on smaller size lots. In addition, with the 2-family, we're trying to increase the possibility of a diversity of housing types and housing sizes throughout the community. And if anyone wants any of our past information, I can send you PowerPoints, staff reports, and other things regarding that. All of the city departments are doing an equity audit right now to look at diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what training staff might need here at City Hall or in police or fire, parks and recreation. That was at the request of the City Council. So we're working on that this month. For those that have not had a chance to meet her, and it will probably be lots of virtual at this point, but our new city manager, Dr. Marie Peoples, has started. This is, I guess, her 3rd week at this point. I'm sure as things move along, you'll get more of a chance to be able to meet her. Her first city council meeting was last Tuesday. I know we're giving her a lot of background information so that she can kind of see what's going on in the community. I think that's all of what I have right now, unless anyone has any particular questions. We're keeping busy.
Good.
This may be budget, but the parking lot behind our office, they're renewing their lease again with us, aren't they, the church?
Oh, we did the renewal last year and it was for a multi-year, so we're good to go. We had to negotiate a little bit with some of their other needs, and we actually negotiated with also including the other parking lot on the other side of the church for some of our needs for fire department. When we have training and other things, we had been needing to use that for other communities to park their fire trucks. So we worked all that out, but I think it was a multi-year, maybe 3-year.
Okay.
So you're good to go.
Okay. So next meeting is going to be budget. So guys, take a look at what Mara's handout is and go over it, and any questions, be prepared, and hopefully get it knocked out.
Make an assumption, block out 8 to 9:30 just to be safe if you can. I know right now we're doing great. I mean, having a full house like this helps. So even if we were missing a couple people who had to leave early, we'd still have a quorum. So just a thought.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Everybody have a great day.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.